Once upon a time, in a small village, there lived a boy named Arjun, who was known by everyone as the laziest person in the community. He had intelligence, strength, and even talent, but he wasted his days lying under trees, gazing at the clouds, or avoiding work with excuses. His parents constantly reminded him that life slips away faster than one can imagine, but he laughed it off, believing that there would always be time tomorrow. Villagers offered him small jobs to earn, but Arjun would turn them down, saying, "Why rush? I have all the time in the world." Yet deep down, there was a quiet voice in his heart, reminding him that time once gone never returns, but he ignored it, continuing to waste the precious gift of each day without realizing how quickly life can change. One morning, an old wise man came to the village. He had heard stories about Arjun and decided to teach him a lesson that no one else had succeeded in teaching. He invited Arjun to walk with him to the fields. At first, Arjun resisted, complaining about the heat and distance, but the wise man promised him something valuable at the end of the walk. Curious, Arjun lazily followed. Along the path, the wise man pointed to the farmers working under the sun, saying, "Look at them, Arjun. They rise early, work hard, and though they sweat, they create abundance not just for themselves, but for the whole village. Their effort turns time into harvest." Arjun shrugged and replied, "I can do that later when I feel like it." The old man only smiled, already knowing the boy's careless thinking would soon face a test. As they reached the riverbank, the wise man gave Arjun a small pot with a hole at the bottom and told him to fill it with water. Arjun laughed, thinking it was a silly task, but he obeyed. He scooped water from the river, but it leaked out before he could bring it back. Again and again he tried, and each time the pot was empty before he returned. Frustrated, Arjun finally shouted, "This is useless. No matter how much I try, the water keeps slipping away." The wise man looked straight into his eyes and calmly said, "Exactly. This is your life. Each moment you waste is like this water slipping through the hole. You think you have time, but before you realize, it is gone. No amount of regret can fill it back." The words pierced Arjun's heart, and for the first time, he felt uneasy about the way he had been living. That night, Arjun could not sleep. The image of the leaking pot haunted him. He thought of all the days he had spent doing nothing, the opportunities he had ignored, and the dreams he had laughed at. He realized that while his friends were learning skills, earning respect, and building futures, he had been wasting the most precious gift, time. Suddenly, he remembered his father's tired eyes after a long day of work and his mother's sacrifices to keep their household running. Shame washed over him. He whispered to himself, "I cannot let my life leak away like that pot. I must change." For the first time, Arjun felt a spark of determination ignite within him. The next morning, the village was shocked. Instead of lying under the banyan tree, Arjun was up before sunrise. He joined the farmers in the fields, asking them to teach him how to plant seeds. They laughed at first, thinking he would quit within minutes, but Arjun pushed himself. His hands blistered, sweat ran down his face, and his muscles ached. Yet he kept going. Each moment he worked, he remembered the leaking pot and realized that effort was the only way to make time meaningful. Slowly, the villagers began to notice a change, not only in his work but in his attitude. For the first time, Arjun was alive with purpose. Weeks turned into months, and Arjun's transformation amazed everyone. He no longer waited for tomorrow, he seized today. He learned carpentry, helped build a new well, and even taught younger children how to read. His parents, who once worried he would waste his life, now watched him with pride. Arjun realized that time, when valued, could create not just personal growth, but also joy for others. The wise man who had given him the pot returned to the village, and when he saw Arjun working hard, he smiled knowingly. "You learned the lesson," he said softly. Arjun bowed his head in gratitude, saying, "I wasted so much, but I will not waste what remains." One day, a heavy storm struck the village, destroying crops and damaging homes. The villagers were terrified, but Arjun took charge, organizing people to rebuild quickly. He used every skill he had learned, repairing roofs, distributing food, and comforting children. Many villagers later admitted that if it weren't for Arjun's leadership, they would not have recovered so fast. In that moment, Arjun truly understood. Valuing time does not just change your own life. It empowers you to become a source of strength for others. The same boy who once slept away days was now the man others looked to for hope. As Arjun grew older, he became a successful farmer and respected leader. People from nearby villages came to seek his advice, but he never forgot the lesson of the leaking pot. Whenever he met young people wasting their days, he shared his story, warning them that time once lost can never be regained. He reminded them that wealth, fame, and even strength may fade, but time is the one treasure that, if used wisely, multiplies into achievements, love, and memories. His story spread far and wide, inspiring countless others to value every single moment they had. Many years later, when Arjun had children of his own, he told them, "Never compare yourself to others. Don't think you have less or more time than anyone else. We all have the same 24 hours each day. What matters is how you use it. Time is the fairest gift. It does not favor the rich over the poor or the strong over the weak. It only rewards those who respect it." His children listened carefully, realizing their father had turned his life around only because he had finally understood the power of time. Arjun's story became a legacy that guided generations. And so the boy who was once mocked as lazy became the greatest example of discipline and transformation. His life proved that it is never too late to change, but the sooner you start, the greater your journey becomes. Every moment matters, every decision counts, and every step forward builds the foundation of a meaningful life. Whenever Arjun saw the river again, he remembered the pot with the hole, but instead of sadness, he felt grateful. That empty pot had filled his life with purpose. He realized that time is the most precious currency we have, and those who spend it wisely live not only with success but with peace. After that shocking day when Arjun realized that he had wasted countless hours of his young life doing absolutely nothing productive, he began to feel a deep sense of regret. He remembered all the mornings when his mother asked him to wake up early and help her with household chores, but he would lazily pull the blanket over his head and sleep until the sun was high. He thought of the times when his father asked him to sit down and read, but he would scroll endlessly on his phone, convincing himself that there was still plenty of time. Now he finally understood that time is the only resource no one can ever earn back once it slips away. The minutes he wasted watching meaningless videos, the afternoons he spent lying around with no goals, and the evenings he ignored opportunities to learn or grow had all added up, and the result was an empty feeling in his heart. This realization was painful, but also powerful. It became the starting point of his transformation. The very next morning, instead of hitting the snooze button, Arjun forced himself to get out of bed at sunrise. He opened the window and let the cool breeze hit his face, realizing that each new day was a gift and not something to be thrown away casually. At first, his body protested because it was not used to discipline, but he kept reminding himself that every moment he lost in laziness would never return. He sat down at his small desk with a notebook and wrote one sentence that would guide his life from then on. "I will not waste the time I have been given." That sentence looked simple, but it carried a weight that pushed him to start making small but consistent changes. He began planning his day, setting small goals, and holding himself accountable for how he spent every single hour. Slowly, he started to feel the difference. He no longer felt empty, because he was finally respecting the most precious resource he had: time. One of the first lessons Arjun learned on his journey of change was that time is not just about doing work. It is about doing meaningful work. In the past, even when he was busy, most of his energy went into activities that added no value to his future. Now he chose carefully where his hours went. He picked up books that taught him skills, watched lectures that expanded his mind, and practiced hobbies that gave him joy. He started helping his father at work, realizing how much wisdom was hidden in simple tasks. The more he invested his time wisely, the more confident he became. His friends noticed the change too. The boy who was once mocked for being lazy was now the one inspiring others. And all this started with one small realization. That time is life, and wasting time is equal to wasting life itself. Despite his progress, Arjun still faced challenges. There were days when old habits tempted him, when his phone buzzed with distractions, or when fatigue told him to just give up and lie down. But every time such thoughts came, he reminded himself of the painful regret he once felt. He remembered how it felt to look back and see nothing but wasted days, and that memory gave him the strength to push forward. He understood that self-discipline was not about perfection, but about persistence. Even if he failed one day, he promised himself he would rise stronger the next. That mindset kept him moving forward steadily. In this way, Arjun not only saved his own time, but also became living proof that anyone, no matter how lazy, can change if they learn to value the hours they are given. Months passed, and Arjun's life began to completely transform. His mornings were now filled with energy, his afternoons with purpose, and his evenings with reflection. His parents, once worried about his future, now looked at him with pride. They saw in him a boy who had matured into a young man with dreams and determination. He was no longer dependent on external motivation. His own respect for time became his greatest driving force. He even started teaching his younger siblings the same lesson, encouraging them to treat time as a treasure. His story spread among his friends, who started asking him for advice on how to stay disciplined. Arjun's journey became more than just personal growth. It became an example of how valuing time can change not only one person's life, but also influence the lives of many others. Arjun discovered that one of the greatest gifts of valuing time was the inner peace it brought. Before, he would go to bed feeling restless and guilty, knowing he had wasted yet another day. Now he slept with satisfaction, proud of the progress he had made. This peace came not from grand achievements, but from small, consistent victories, completing a book, helping his father, practicing a skill, or even just keeping a promise to himself. He learned that when we respect time, time respects us back by giving us clarity, discipline, and confidence. Arjun finally understood the saying his grandfather used to repeat, "Lost wealth can be regained, but lost time never returns." These words, once ignored, now became the foundation of his life philosophy. One day, during a family gathering, his uncle praised him in front of everyone, saying, "This boy has changed. He knows the value of time, and that's why he will go far in life." Hearing those words, Arjun felt proud, but more importantly, he felt grateful. Grateful for the lesson life had taught him before it was too late. He realized that many people spend their entire lives in regret, wishing they had started earlier. But he had been lucky enough to realize the truth at a young age. He promised himself that he would never let laziness steal his future again. Instead, he would use his story to motivate others to wake up before regret takes over. The transformation in Arjun's life was not only about discipline and success, it was also about identity.